What's going on, everybody? How you doing? So, I have a question for y'all today. How would you feel as an adult meeting your parent for the first time in your life? That's what I want to chat with everyone about today. So, in a little bit, we're going to talk about it.
This is Ignition 843, The Wire, hosted by the one and only DJ Robi Keit and Miss Lika Bee, where the vibe is real, the talk is raw, and the truth always finds a microphone. Now, let's get to it.
Hey, everybody, it's your girl Lika Bee, and I'm here with the wonderful DJ Robi Keit. How you doing today, Robbie?
Everything is good, baby. How you doing?
Great. It's so good to be here with you today. So again, I'll pose the question to our listening audience. Hey, how do you think you would feel as a grown-up, just an adult, not a kid, meeting your parent for the first time? And so today we're going to be talking about adult children that are meeting the parents for the first time, some of the positive and negative things that can and do occur. And how do you think you'd really just feel about that? You ready to get into it?
Let's run it, baby. Let's run
it. So the topic today's discussion is He is the Father. The story unfolds in a way that this actually happened to me. I recently heard information about my father after a strange series of events. A cousin of mine was like seriously interested in who my other parent was. She's like, Mickey, who's your dad? And I said, well, there's a lot of speculation about that. There's some things that have gone on in the family and, things that are talked about, but my mother is deceased. So I couldn't tell you who my father is. There is a man on my birth certificate, but, So after hearing that her mother, my auntie, possibly knew who my father was, I called my aunt and I was like, hey, Vashti told me that you know who might be my dad. And she said, oh, yeah, your mom dated this guy and, you look just like him. And I said, well, you know his name? She was like, yeah. I said, well, what's his name? This woman told me the man's name is Sylvester. Last name I'll keep to myself.
So Mr. Sylvester.
Yeah, Mr. Sylvester. I said, so what? And she said, yeah. And I said, I'm 55 and you just now telling me this? It was insane. It was really insane. So she tells me the name and I go, well, that's the person that's on my birth certificate. My aunt was like, rip. I said, well, the last names match. I said, but really? And so it was really interesting. And so my brain goes into all these gears. And can you imagine like somebody telling you that the name you've been seeing on your birth certificate all your life is probably your parent?
Yeah.
And everybody goes, how you didn't know that was that wasn't your dad? And I said, well, because my mother told this lovely story that the man on my birth certificate was just a friend of hers who decided to give me a name. So would you ever as an adult look for that person, you think?
Me personally, that's kind of a tough question. If I never met this person, and I'm gonna be honest, with it, and just say, we're up in age. I'm not gonna say that I wouldn't, but then on the other hand too, I wouldn't say that I would.
But think about someone saying that person was just a friend. Would you go seeking out the person just because they were kind enough to put their name on your birth certificate? He didn't sign the birth certificate. He's just on there. Would you go look for that person? Like logically, would you?
If he didn't want to sign it, that right there would tell me a lot. Okay, so, but to be honest with you, anything could have happened in the midst of that. It's not saying that the person didn't want to sign it, but some other things could have went on. Because, like as a parent, sometimes when things don't work out between you and your significant other at the time or however, sometimes things don't go like they need to be or put in writing like they need to be. And to me, I think that's kind of crazy a little bit on the parents, because the one thing you should never do, if there's a child involved, you should never basically hide that or take that away from that child coming up.
Yeah.
So that's to me, I would say the one thing, yeah, I would want to know the truth. Let me just clear that up. I would want to know the truth, what really happened, because there's always two sides to the story. Who's going especially when you get to a certain stage in your life, you'll know who's legitimate and who's not. Because
Right.
you basically none been around the tree of bullshit, so you know. And if it's not sitting well with you, then you have your options. You can either keep that relationship with that person, or you could just be like, hey, I'm glad I got to meet you, and just like, this probably going to be the last time I see you. It's option. So going back to me, would I really just go out my way after all these years and say I want to find this person? It's true. I will want to know the truth, but then that 80% side of me will be like, you know what? This person ain't never come forward, and at the end of the day, I might be grown, but I'm still that child of
Yeah.
that person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So all these years, and I personally couldn't say that it was at that point. It was the other parent that I was living with that was keeping that person away. So after a certain while, then that's when it's not an excuse anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's like that my biological child is grown. And of course, I'm the father. There's no reason why I can't just step up to the plate and just be like, yo, you my baby. You know what I'm saying? So there's many things that would shoot through my head with that. And I'm not going to say that it would be something that take my attention completely away, but it would be something that sit in my mind, because at the end of the day, too, I got to look at it. I'm also, a family man. I would have to be concerned about taking care of my own, you know what I'm saying? Because the one thing I don't want to do is whatever took place and happened to me, I want to make sure that I be a parent for my kids. You know what I'm saying? So, you all right over there?
Oh yeah, I'm good. I'm sorry, I was coughing.
Yeah.
So what I was going to go back to is that when I was told by my mother that the person on my birth certificate was not my father,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, my throat got stuck. When I went back to the point of the person on my birth certificate I was told was a friend. In my perspective as a young person, when I was a teenager, I wasn't going to look for this person. I was like, why should I find a friend of my mother's who gave me his name? What I'm gonna do? Tell him thank you. He wasn't on my throwaway mind. The other part of it was that my mother was assaulted around that same time, and there was speculation that person was my parent. And there's a long story with that. That's a whole nother chapter to talk about. But anyway, he was a family member. She was assaulted, but she dealt with my father around the same time. So I wasn't going to look for the guy that was her friend. I didn't do that. But after my aunt said the name and told me, hey, you look like this man. This is his name. And he's on my birth certificate. Your girl did. I'm going to get a DNA test. So I did. I went up, signed up for Ancestry, got the DNA test kit, and waited 3 weeks. I had to sit back and on my hunches and wonder, because at that point now I'm going to find out whether I'm the child of the assaulter or this guy on my birth certificate. And it was very stressful for me emotionally to wait for those outcomes, but the results came. So results come in, and I pull them up, and my best friend was on the phone with me and I was so nervous. And she said, just open it. Let's look and see what's going on. I don't know if many people can understand carrying around 55 years of you could be the child of someone that is not only an assaulter, but a pedophile. And then you could be the child of a person who's out there that may or may not even know you exist or want you, right? So it's a double negative could have happened. And it was nerve-wracking. So we opened the results and I matched with a person named Jackie. And Jackie proved to be my aunt. So then I pulled up the 1950 census to go look up Jackie's family and her lineage to see who these people were. It pulled up my grandfather, grandmother, and there were 17 children between them. I go down the list of kids, and the man on my birth certificate is the father. He's on there. That's my dad. That's my aunt's brother. And I said, my God, he's my father. This man is my father.
Right.
He's been on my birth certificate my whole life. And I had no idea. So then it raised all kinds of other questions. Where is he at? What happened?
Right.
Why didn't my mom tell me the truth? What was going through her mind? And the only problem with that is I can't ask my mother because my mom's been gone for 17 years. So I can't even, we can't even have a conversation. My grandparents are gone. My father's parents are gone. I got to start looking for the father. And then I'm scared because although I'm 55 and I'm a grown up with mature feelings, what if he don't want to talk to me? What if, should I reach out? Should I do anything? So we stayed up till 4:30 in the morning, trying to figure out what's going on, matching up my genealogy, doing all the family charts and figuring people out. And of course, I've started messaging the people saying, hey, I know you don't know me. We matched. This is who I am. And I didn't say anything about who I thought my father was. I just said, you came up as my aunt, and I'm trying to locate my family. I don't know if you want to talk to me. It was very emotional. It was we were up all night. So later that morning that we never went to sleep, my cousin who started all this madness, she goes online and goes, oh my gosh, that's your dad. So he's really your dad. So she goes and searches and finds numbers, right, that match this person's age, profile, demographic. And I picked the latest number that had been added to the internet. And I waited all day. And of course I had been admonished by my aunt. She said, let sleeping dogs lie. My godfather was like, this person might not want you. Everybody was really on the negative side of things.
Negative, yeah.
Yeah, it was very negative. And I know they were trying to protect me, but it was nerve-wracking. So I go ahead and call the number finally. Yeah. This gentleman says hello. And I was like, hi, I'm looking for Sylvester. And he says, well, who is this? And I said, my name is Malika. And he said, well, what do you want? And I said, I recently took a DNA test and you and I have a parent-child relationship and you are my father. And he said, what? What do you mean? Can you imagine somebody calling you and say, just blurting it out?
Yeah, I'm like, I get something like that right now. I'm that baby pappy. Oh, shit. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's, things happen. Sometimes we're not aware, but it's still, it's just all about taking ownership. You know what I'm saying? So that's the main thing.
Yeah. You're a man. So what you just said was like, his reaction was like, what? He said, what's your name? And I said, it's Malika. He said, what's your last name? And I said it. He said, who your mama?
Yeah.
And I told him my mother's name. He says, where your people from? And I gave that information. And he said, when were you born? And I told him my birthday. And he said, 1971. He said, 1971. He said, Martinez. He said, oh my God, you're my baby. You're my baby girl. And I said, what?
Yeah.
I was like, I did not expect that reaction at all from this man. And he said, where? He said, girl, he said, what took you so long? And I said, huh? I was so stunned because that was the last response I expected to get from this man.
Right.
So he proceeded to tell me a story about how him and my mother were mostly, it was a not relationship. It was more of a, sexual interactions a few times.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
He said, though, that after several months of not seeing her, she shows up, rings his doorbell, and left me on the porch. Right. So you see the silence? This is how I was feeling. So I said, what? He said, yeah, she left you. And he said, and I had proposed to someone, I was about to get married. My dad was all over the place as people back then. It was interesting. So they take me in the house. He don't have any, she didn't tell him my name. She didn't tell him anything. She just left me. And so they had me a couple of days. And then he said that she came back with a woman, probably my grandmother, I imagine, because I was my grandmother's baby. But she came back with a family member, and they said they thought it was best they go ahead and take me back. And so he handed me over. He said, that's the only time I ever saw you in your entire existence. He said, I saw you that one time when you were a baby. He said, you were so pretty and you were beautiful and I loved you. He said, and they took you. He said, and honey, I didn't know your family. I didn't know who your grandparents were. I had no way to find your mother. He said, I didn't know her last name. I mean, it was crazy. And he was very busy. He was an activist. He did all these things. He was just super into the community, but she took me, and he didn't even know my name. He didn't know. So he had no way to find me back then. There's no internet. There was no, you know what I mean? There wasn't even, how would you find a kid when you don't start, right? So he cried so hard when we were talking and he was telling me that story, and it almost broke my heart, So anyway, fast forward, I end up going to California. I booked a trip, and he and his wife invited me to stay in their home. And there's a clip of that we'll show you now.
No battery.
So before we get into that video and what it felt like and going forward, I'd like to give you an opportunity, because I just spewed a mouthful. Are there any comments you have about what I just said? Because it was overwhelming for me.
Well, to be honest with you, first and foremost, if I was with a woman and didn't know, we was just doing our thing and didn't know that, I had a child from that woman, and that woman just appeared to my door, even though I was with somebody, and just bought you their newborn baby and dropped you off. I'm going to tell you honestly, you wouldn't have never left that house again.
Yeah.
And I'm being straight with you. I don't give a damn what I would have had to do, because I know how I feel about babies, kids, period. So if it don't even have to be my child, if a person just popped it to my door and dropped the baby off there, my first thing, my reaction is, first I'm going to report it, because, and if I can, I want to get whatever identification I can get. I want to adopt this child. Okay. If I got to, because I don't feel that's right. You know what I'm saying? For something like that. This is an innocent baby. And the one thing I can, even if I ain't got, a whole bunch, I want to at least try to give this child a chance, do what I can. Yeah. And that's just my reaction, because to me, something like that will first break my heart. Just, I know that happens all over the world where children just get dropped off and left here and there. That will break my heart.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I know, and I understand too, it's like, it's plenty people who go through messed up things and the children end up suffering, in the midst of that. But one parent has to step up, at least one. You know what I'm saying? In some cases, you don't have either. But there's somebody within. There's always somebody within that will step up. And like I say, going back to that point of you being dropped off like that, no, there's no way in hell. And if they would have came back and talk about we taking it, you better get your ass off my porch. I'm just being real. I'm being real.
I got you.
I'm being real.
I'm condensing a lot of this story because it's so much to unpack with it that I couldn't possibly in this one episode give all of this, right? But my mother was a teenager.
Right.
She was a teenager. And I think my father, being who he was, he didn't know she didn't look like a teenager. But when her mama, I'm pretty sure my grandma went with her, I'm pretty sure he didn't want no smoke. So he's also the kind of man he is that I've gotten to know in the last couple of months. He felt hurt. He did. He said, but I couldn't take, he said they wanted you, I gave you, and he felt horrible about it. When I tell you the tears but she was a minor and she turned 18 shortly after I was born. But again, in his defense, I showed you a picture of my mother, she didn't look like a high schooler. So I know back really then. Back then it was not a big thing. People got married, right? Or they did things.
Right.
So my grandmother had her first kid at 14, I think, and she was unmarried and whatever. It was a thing. But when we met, you saw the video clip, got out, met him, he hugged me. He embraced me in a way I never expected. And mentally, emotionally, physically, all of it. He was very embracing, and he was just, he told me he owed me 55 years of child support. I said, no, you don't. And, I kept calling him sir when I was talking to him, and he finally said, look, girl, listen. He said, I need you to stop that. He said, I'm not your damn sir. I'm your daddy. I said, I'm 55 and I've never had a father. You're going to have to give me some time.
Yeah, that's right.
So it was so much emotional upheaval. There were good and bad feelings. At first, I was mad at my auntie because if you knew all this, why you didn't tell me?
Right.
But then I had to think about maybe she was just trying to protect me. My mother may have asked her not to say anything. My mom is gone. I wanted to shake her out the grave. It's like, you need to wake up.
Oh, man.
Well, you have so many questions that can't ever be answered, right? They can't be.
Yeah.
I was never upset with my father about any of it, even though he expected me to be angry because he was like, you have to be upset. Yeah. I said, no, I can't be. I have to let go and be upset at all of them, right?
Right.
I can't be upset at everybody because I wasn't there. I don't know what the hell went on. I don't know nothing. Yeah. I'm the kid, right? But then there's the meeting new people, getting introduced to people. His other daughters, the brothers mostly were fine. The sisters, I have one sister who's homeless in San Francisco. She was willing to take pictures with me. She loved me, hugged on me. She was so excited to meet me. She's been out there in the Tenderloin for over 30 years, but I love her. She was super sweet. The other sisters were hard. They came over to my father. They sat down, and until I opened the computer and handed them the paperwork, but they kept staring at me. So you can show the picture of me and my father together as I met my father. And when people see it, you'll see I'm definitely his daughter. So to go back to the outright jealousy that was happening because he kept calling me his baby girl. I'm not the youngest. I'm close, but I'm not the youngest. And their hostility about it was so hard to deal with because he was arguing with my sisters right there. And I'm sitting there like, I can't get in this argument. I don't have any dog in this fight. I don't even know what to, because I don't know these people, right?
Right.
Finally, he shut everybody up and said, I took care of all of you. He said, and this, I haven't done anything for this girl. He says, so anything and everything I do for her, and she's my baby girl. He said, the last time I saw her, she was a baby. That's my baby. Yeah. And he said, it ain't nobody. He was really adamant. And I'm trying to figure out a way to get him to calm himself, to try to understand them, and trying to get them to understand him, right? So that brings me to the place of his mourning, his guilt, and his joy. He's experiencing all these things at the same time. My father has a lot of other children. He raised them all. He was in their lives, whatever way that looked like, because I'm still figuring that out. But he had one out there, and he knew it. And he said it grieved him so much for so long. And he said, I wish I could have figured out a way to look for you. I wish I could have found you. So I'm now having to deal with his feelings of guilt and sadness and worry. And now I have to, how am I going to reconcile my own feelings about all this? So
let me touch on something that you said too about the siblings. You know, I can't expect everybody to feel like me. Maybe I'm a little different, but I also understand that people are like that when it comes to a child. You know, of course, it could be a younger child or a grown person that's coming into the family saying, okay, well, I'm so and so. Me, I can only go off of how I would feel about it if somebody just pop about the blue and just say, man, I'm your sister or your brother that I never met in my life before. I just look and be like, okay, cool, man, what's going on? Yeah. You know, because at the end of the day, you know, this is what I feel people have a tendency of forgetting. Before parents meet each other, they lived other lives.
Sure did.
Things happen. Things happen. And as a person, you should be able to understand that, man. You know, it's not anybody's fault. It's just the fact of, now I will say, if a person didn't come forward and say, okay, I may have, but sometimes you don't know.
No.
And if I have a child out there, just say, for instance, if I have a child out there and didn't know, and that child showed me every detailed proof of what I need to say, they're my baby. Hey, come on. You know what I'm saying? It would kind of, it's not going to really puzzle me. It'd just be like, okay, well, you know, if this happened, it happened. You know, what can I say? I'm thankful that you came forward and told me this. Yeah. But that goes back also to what I'm saying. That's if I didn't know. There's a difference if I knew.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Now, if I knew, no, man, it's hunting season. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's hunting season. We got to find this baby. You know, so I don't understand, you know, the part of how siblings can be jealous or feel some kind of way about that, because at the end of the day, they're grown adults. Things could have took place with them before they got with who they got with. You know what I'm saying? So you got to understand, you got to learn how to just basically forgive and let be.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what I'm saying? There's no need for hatred. Ain't nothing but love. The bigger the family, the more blah, 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 I'm getting tongue tied, but the more you see, the more seeds gonna sprout and carry on the family legacy. You know what I'm saying? So that's what you want. That's what you want. You know what I'm saying? There's no need to be like, oh, well, I don't want to fuck with this person. No.
Now here's the caveat. We're we can't go backward. We can only move forward, right?
Right. Right.
Healing and experiencing happiness is what I'm trying to do with my father. My father is 87, by the way. I didn't think he'd have cognitive ability when I reached out, but he's still driving. His sister's 96 and bowls 3 times a week. So all I care about is getting to know those who want to know me, right? And I want to be family to those who want to be family with me. But my biggest focus is none of them. It's him. And his biggest focus is me. He's like, I got grandkids, and you got and great grands over there. I said, yeah, you got all that. And so, but again, his focus is still me. He is focused on this person. And so
that's what it needs to be. Yeah.
And I'm working on it. And some of my brothers have been, oh my God, I love having big brothers. I've always wanted big brothers, and I never had one. So now I got a couple of them. And I was like, And so when I text them, it's hi, big brother. And they crack up. They think it's the funniest thing ever. And, then you got some people that are creepy and you have to avoid. And that's a real thing for me, because my dad was like, if anybody say or do anything that you don't like or that's not proper, you need to tell me. Because he said, you're a really beautiful girl, and, I don't want no crazy, stuff happen everywhere, and you just got to beware.
Right.
So but they're trying not to taint my view of anybody. Right. So my sisters, how to gain those real relationships with them. I had to realize everybody's not going to be happy. Everybody is not good just because they are my blood. They do know, though, because my daddy made it very clear. He said she's the only one out of all y'all that actually took a DNA test and knows she's my daughter. Yeah. Some of y'all might be surprised, which means he got kids he raised that are not his blood children. He just overlooked stuff, right? He's really that kind of person. He's raised a lot of kids that weren't his biological. So you have to be careful of negative or scary vibes. Pay attention to their reactions and believe them when they show you. My sisters, I could see they were struggling, because I called one of them and I was like, hey, I want you to understand something. I said, when I met you, you smiled. I said, but that smile never reached your eyes. I said, and I don't know your relationship with our father, what you had to go through. I know that I'm never going to go through that. He's never going to spank me. He's never going to discipline me the same way he disciplined y'all. I'm never going to go through those things. I'm a grown up, right? I said, but what I will tell you is I want to have a loving relationship with you, but if you can't do it, if it's too hard for you, I said, I respect that. And baby, I will not say nothing to him. We'll act like we're cool when we see each other. And if you don't want to ever talk to me, it's okay. And she broke down in tears. She said, I think you're amazing and you're a really great person, but he just act like we don't exist. I said, that's not true. And so I had to ask her a real serious question. If you had a baby and someone took it from you right away and you couldn't find that kid nowhere, and then all these years later, that child popped up, how would you feel? She said, of course, I'd be happy to. I said, so can you give our dad that grace? Right now, he's excited. Shiny new toy in his life. I'm not a toy, but you know what I mean? At Christmas, you get, and I said, and he may never feel differently. He may feel, I said, but can you imagine? Y'all knew I existed. Oh, that was another thing I didn't tell you. He had told people that I was out there. He told everybody. There's another one. He said, I got another daughter. He said, I don't know where she is. I don't know if I ever see her. But he talked about me. My aunt told me he used to be so upset. And she said it took years for him to stop, worrying over it so much. So I said, so you all knew I existed. You knew it was bothering him. Wouldn't you want to be happy for him right now and let him have his moment with me? Right. It doesn't take away from his love for anybody else. He's just so overwhelmed right now with his joy. Right. And so she was crying and but it was an honest conversation. And she said, but I do like you. I think you're beautiful. And I'm so excited and we're close in age. And I said, so let's embrace it then. Don't, but if you can't, I'm not going to fault you for it. Whatever. I can't. I said, I'm here for him and me. Right. And y'all are bonuses. That's how I looked at it. And so you have to be careful with people that you're just meeting. Just because they're blood doesn't mean you can trust them. They have to earn my trust. I have to earn theirs. Right. So it was crazy, but that's how I so far dealt with it. Right.
I know it was a challenge, like I said, I can't sit here and say I know, understand, and know how you feel completely, because I don't. You know, family can be some of the challenges that you could face in life, some of the hardest challenges that you can face in life. And all you can do as a person is try to do what you can, love who you can love. And me, I'm always say keep it moving. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I'm
Yeah.
just grateful that you got the opportunity to find your father, see your father, and have a relationship with your father, because not everybody is blessed to do that. You know what I'm saying? So
No.
I applaud you. I applaud you on the steps that you took, and glad that you're happy now.
Yeah, I would say
So,
to any adult out there, this journey, which is just starting in my life, this chapter is just opened.
yeah,
It's invoked a lot of emotion. First of all, finding out I'm not the child of a rapist.
yeah,
My mother's family finally coming forward and all admitting that they understood and they knew, and she suffered with that whole terrible ordeal, right?
yeah,
Everybody treated her like she was crazy for a long time, and people were against her for a long time about what she told, right? Her truth. Um, I've been dealing with family on that side going, well, see, he ain't your dad. I said, he still raped her. It happened. There's evidence and you can't refute it. And so more and more family members have come to my mother's defense, although it's late. She's gone, right?
yeah.
But I cried for a solid hour after finding out that wasn't my father, because living with the possibility of someone that harmed your mother being your biological father, I've carried that all my life, worrying about and wondering. And I pushed it to the back of my mind because he's dead too. They're gone, right? The
Yeah.
grandparents, like I said, everybody's gone. But the emotional letdown I had from finding out that the man that's my father is not that person. I told my dad, I was so glad you're my father, and I'm so thankful God just let me find out that I'm not that things, anything. It's horrible. So the emotional part about watching my father go through his emotions and trying to be a grown up as I help him navigate those waters for himself. Cause I don't want him to feel bad. I don't want him to feel guilty. I want him to just love me. Let me love him. Let's move forward. Whatever time God has given us that's left, let's just be there, right? In that space.
That's right. Yeah.
It's hard getting him to stop worrying about when I'm going to lose it. I'm not even that kind of person. I'm very loving. I'm very kind. I'm a really generous hearted person. So when I met him, he cooked for me. He wouldn't let me do anything. He took me to the jewelry store. This man I was like, you don't need to do any of that. But he wanted to do stuff. And I had to learn to let him just do whatever it is, right? I have to let him do it. And he bought me pajamas and my favorite ice cream. I mean, he was doing everything he could. And him and his wife invited me into their home too. So,
Yeah.
but there's a great amount of upheaval I have because no one I know has gone through this. Not one person.
Right.
I don't know anybody, my cousins, nobody. And I tell everybody every day is still a challenge, right? It's a good challenge, but it's so emotionally overwhelming. So anybody that's out there, meeting your parent for the first time as an adult can be so scary, but it can be healing. It can be happy. You'll never know what your parents went through. You'll never have the full story because they're not going to tell you. Even if they're both alive, they're never going to tell the whole story, right? You're never going to hear it all. So don't judge them. Or
I can understand that too.
Yeah, try not to judge them and, discover the people that you need to discover. Let the ones that don't want to be involved. Don't worry about them. Don't try to do anything but be you, right? And then take those next steps with the new parent because I went from not having a parent for 17 years to now having another parent. And now I got to worry about this dude. And so, and I know you can speak on something, maybe similar to what I've gone through, but you just gotta. So that's my take on all of that.
I would just say, I would, say it in the short form. The name that's on my birth certificate is my mother's not supposed to be the name on my birth certificate.
Right.
And I'll leave it like that. You know what I'm saying? It's a relative, but I'll leave it like that. That relative is deceased. But maybe there was a misprint, maybe it wasn't.
Right.
But at the end of the day, that's just something. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm not as bold as you. I can't front. I'm not as brave as you.
Yeah.
I believe in this theory here, which I truly believe what is the original, what it's supposed to be. But I believe that whenever I get my opportunity to see the Lord above, then I know all the answers I wanted.
There you go. You'll know the truth. Yeah.
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 So
And thank you for calling me brave. And your story is an interesting one for sure. But I kind of agree with you. That person is gone. You can't ask those questions of that person. And even if
right,
you found out it was different than what you thought, right? They're gone. You
right,
can't even.
yeah,
So I don't know that I would touch that.
yeah,
Yeah, if my father was gone, I don't know that I would have bothered his family. I don't
yeah,
know. Maybe
mm,
I would talk to the aunts and try to get to know who he was. But we both have a really unique. They're not so unique, but within our communities, I bet your story is a fairly unique one. And I know in my community, it's a very unique story.
God let people meet for a reason. Sometimes it's to learn from people,
Yeah,
and no matter who you meet, you're gonna learn from them. But sometimes it's just to have people in your life to grow strong, and there's some people that you want to keep in your life. You get what I'm
yeah,
saying? Because y'all have similarities. So
yeah.
we're here today, and Lord will bless us to be here tomorrow. You know what I'm saying?
He sure will. And I thank you today for it's kind of therapeutic being able to share the story. I really
Yeah,
hope that anybody that sees this and it resounds with them, or they have a feeling of like, wow, that happened to me, or they're in a place contemplating it or dealing with it, I would hope that, hey, feel free to send a message, reach out. I'm happy to
right.
talk with anyone that's going through this or had a similar experience. But I hope it resounds with somebody and helps them to see things in a positive way. So thanks for allowing me to share my story today on the show, and thanks for allowing me to co-host. It's been wonderful.
It's always, man. You family, baby. So that we're gonna keep this thing moving. But check this out, everybody. That's the one and only Miss Lika Bee, and I'm DJ Robi Keit. We're gonna keep things right for y'all right here on the Nation 843 The Y.
One love.